Welcome back to Esoteric Home. I am Jod. It is December 15th, 2024. I hope you've been well. It's been a little bit since I've put up a video, a little bit over a month. Um, I apologize for having go so long in between videos, but it's just been busy. I've been doing a lot of different stuff, working a lot, and but it did give me a lot of time to kind of think about what my next video would be. So um, there's definitely a lot going on in the world. There's these bunch of different things. Now these drones, or there's just a bunch of changes taking place, and I was thinking, I came across something, and it really kind of impacted me, and a lot of why people get into a spiritual practice or start a magical practice or really start to look into these things that are non-physical is really one of two questions, and the first one is, what is the meaning of life? What are we doing here? What's going on? And then the second one is, what happens when you die? What happens after you're gone, from this physical plane? And typically, that's kind of the question that got me started on this path a long time ago. Is, hey, like, what happens when you die? Um, what is it about? It seems like we have such a limited amount of time. Death comes for us all, and it's kind of a heavy topic. But I do think that one of the things that I'd like to do with this channel is to give you kind of the best insights that I've been able to come across, and at least share the things that have helped me. And I was raised Christian, so for me it was a matter of, you go to heaven if you've accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you go to hell if you don't. And that kind of always didn't really sit well with me. If God had created us, then why would He, penalize us for making the wrong choice, especially if we were already born sinful, which means unable really to make the right choice. So, can you really penalize somebody for getting the wrong answer on a quiz if you created them not to be able to to understand or not be able to make the right choice, kind of thing? So that kind of led me on this, and there are a lot of different similarities across all different religions and myths and cultures about death. For a lot of them, it is not the end. It is a transformation. It is a transition. You, or a part of you, goes on. So it's not really the end. Now, if it is the end and it's nothing, then there you go. But I happen to think that we are eternal beings, and once this body hits its time limit, we just move on to the next adventure. And I think that the way that our normal conscious mind operates is we know things by their opposites. So we know hot because we've experienced cold. We know what it's like to be at nighttime because we have know that there's daytime. And so there's this duality, and I do think that life and death are kind of both sides of the same coin. They're both parts of this great cycle, and you really don't know that you're alive unless you've been dead before, unless you have something to compare it to. So um and ironically, how do we really know that we are alive now? It could be just as well that there's the real life happens and we think we're alive, but we may already be dead. So of course I understand there's limits to that thought experiment, but I would encourage you to kind of do your own research, come up with something that works for you. Come up with, look at all the belief systems out there and determine which one you think is most correct. And I definitely think there's a part of it that's a mystery. There's a part of it that we won't know until we get through it. But I do think that sleep is here to kind of show us, it's kind of a lesson in itself. We go to sleep, we lose track of ourselves, we disappear. They call sleep the mini death. You lose, you know, for all intents and purposes, is the great part of sleep where you don't know where you're at. Your mind is not there, and then you come back, you wake up, and everything's just very similar to how it once was. So I think that um, getting tired, going to sleep, and waking up is kind of a microcosm of the bigger life death process. So I think, for example, you don't, you know, I'm tired, I'm scared to go to sleep tonight. Ordinarily, unless there's something else going on, you're not like, oh, I'm horrified that I'm gonna get tired and go to sleep tonight. Um, so I think we kind of can take that attitude and really remove the fear around death, around passing away, or transitioning, or whatever you want to call it. And I think really that's the main thing. The main thing is really, if you can kind of figure out what, to the best of your ability, happens, at that point when you die, and you're ready for it, you're no longer afraid of it, and then you kind of, in a lot of ways, embrace it. Now, I don't, you know, I, you know, I don't want anybody harming themselves, or taking, or, life, taking their life, or anything like that. I don't want anything like that. So, but when it's your time, I definitely want, I think, to people to be looking forward to it in a way, um, you know, with a lot of love and acceptance and joy in their heart and peace. And I think that keeping all this fear around death and dying allows people to be controlled, manipulated, and I think a lot of people will kind of choose a religion because it's like, oh, there's a lot of people that have chosen that. It's safe. What if I'm wrong? So it's like, oh, I'll choose that because at least I know, okay, if I believe this or say that I believe this, then I'll be fine. Um, but in a lot of different religions and mythologies, there is a, a place that you go if you have done the right things, and then there's another place if you haven't. So that you can find these parallels that, hey, the good people, or the people who made the right choice, go to this place, and the people who don't go to that place. Also, there does seem to be a quote unquote judgment or a review process. It's, in um, a lot of these different systems. There's some sort of self-review process or reflection process where you're shown your life, or somebody is showing it to you, and you're being judged. And then it's like, oh, you go this way, you go that way. I think um, my interpretation is a little bit different. I think that you end up judging yourself. At the end of the day, I think that you are the one who decides what your next iteration is going to be, what your next incarnation, or where you're going to go. I definitely think that your mind is a place. Your mind is its own place. And I think when you die, we retreat into our mind. And if your mind is a generally happy and joyful and peaceful environment, then that is going to feel very much like heaven. And if you're constantly worried or angry, or fearful, distrustful, when that moment comes, you go back into your mind, and that will very much feel like hell. And we know that it's possible to feel these blissful, enlightened, unity consciousness states while alive, and it's also, very possible to experience very hellish states while you're alive. So I definitely think that the system is set up in a way that um, that you, in some ways, create the next level, your next life. I Instead of like saying, oh, it's life after death, I think it's life after life. I tend to believe in reincarnation, or think it's definitely possible. And what else are we going to do with eternity? I mean, you could go spend a trillion years in heaven, blissful, and at some point you're gonna be like, hey, I really like to, you know, remember and experience what it was like to feel lost and feel confused and to feel alone and all those things. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you think. Um, I think that it's a big topic, in our Western culture. I think we kind of push it under the rug, but I definitely think, um, it's something to not be afraid of. It's something to learn about. I love how, like, different systems like, Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, they all have different kind of ways of looking at it. There's the Tibetan Book of the Dead, there's the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Another theme is that you can help those who are transitioning, or you can, like I believe it's in Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about there's a certain number of days after someone's died where they're doing these prayers every day, and it's like giving them direction. It's like, hey, do this. If you see this, don't worry about it. Keep going. So it's like, it's definitely, um, I think that, and another thing is, if you've had an out of body experience, if you've ever had like an OBE, whether it was conscious or something that just spontaneously happened, you realize that you are not just your body, that your physical body is just a small part of who you are. So I think a lot of different initiations and cultures in some mystery schools, if you will, that those initiations are designed to kind of reveal that state to you, to reveal the out of body state where you're not so identified with just your physical body, where you're something greater, you're encompassing everything, and really you're all that is. We know that energy does not cannot be, according to our understanding of physics, energy cannot be destroyed or it cannot be created. It has to go somewhere, it has to exist. And um so I think that, yeah, I definitely think if you can get rid of your fear around death, um a lot of the other fears will drop away, and you'll feel so much more peace, contentment, and certainty. Saying, hey, it's a mystery, why. um, I'm going to do the best that I can while I'm here. I'm going to love myself, love other people, try to do the right thing, and seek wisdom. And then it's like, there's a couple scenes. One of them is like the sinner runs when no one is chasing him, or like the thief runs when no one is chasing him, because you have that fear. You're like, oh, I did something bad, people are coming after me. And there's also like the quote. I think it's like, if you put a sage in hell, he will experience heaven. And I love that one. Like, if you put a sage in hell, he will experience heaven, because it's all, starting from inward and going outward, and you have the ability to be, to feel, think, and do, in these circumstances. So, you ever see some people who are just happy and joyous no matter what? They're just having a good time, and you have some people that are just always in a bad mood and always complaining and always cranky. um, and the circumstances, it does in a way dictate their circumstances. You can have people who are happy with very, very little and optimistic, and you can have people who have so much and it's like it's not enough, it'll never be enough, all they want is more. So yeah, I think I would encourage you to do your own research, look at all the great religions, all the great myths, all the great cultures of the world, and see what they thought about it. See what they came up with, and then tonight I'd like to read something that it's from Liber Null Psychonaught by Peter J. Carroll. It's chaos magic. I have talked about some of the ideas in this book before. A lot of great stuff in here. He sends, like, in um, his understanding of it is that your personal consciousness does dissolve back into universal consciousness, but there are ways to kind of hold on to some of your individuality. Like, one of the ones that is cool is like creating, marking your soul, marking your personality with another, like, so someone can recognize you in the next level, or like, so you don't lose your connection to someone. Cool stuff. But the real reason I wanted to do this video is to talk about something that I think, if you can figure out what's going on, what's really going on, it will open up a lot of areas of your life. and remove a lot of fear, and a lot of worry, and your ability to be controlled. Like, um, getting over the fear of death is really getting over the worst fear, one of the worst fears that humanity has. And so I would encourage you to look into this. And a lot of you probably already have. If you're watching this channel, I'm sure you've explored these concepts, and I'm sure you already have your own idea of what happens. But um, there's something in here that he goes through and he talks about. And this is essentially, the example is like, okay, if someone is dying, and you're with them, maybe they can speak, maybe they can't speak. You can either kind of telepathically send this to them if they're not able to communicate verbally, or you can tell this to them. And what would you tell to somebody who is dying? And I'm going to read it, and I'll read it probably twice. So, excuse me. The first one is, be without fear as the great metamorphosis begins. Yeah. Be without fear as the great metamorphosis begins. Then he goes on, fantastic and terrifying visions are illusory. Laugh at them and reject them. They cannot touch you now. Go beyond. Fantastic and terrifying visions are illusory. Laugh at them and reject them. They cannot touch you now. Go beyond. And then you will come to the secret of your being, which may seem as a dazzling brilliance or as an awesome darkness, or as both these things and more. You will come to the secret of your being, which may seem as a dazzling brilliance or as an awesome darkness, or as both these things and more. And then he goes on, it is your choice to become one with this source if you so will it. It is your choice to become one with this source if you so will it. It is your choice to remain separate if you so will this instead. It is your choice to remain separate if you so will this instead. Do what thou wilt. Do what thou wilt. Make a choice. Do what you will. If you would remain separate, then you must seek new life. If you would remain separate, then you must seek new life. And seeking rebirth, seek the emanations of love, vitality, and intelligence. Go where there are strength and freedom. In seeking rebirth, seek the emanations of love, vitality, and intelligence. Go where there are strength and freedom. So I thought that was very helpful. I hope it's helpful to you. I've had, I would say a couple different experiences, visions, if you will, of kind of stuff in the next plane. One of them was like literally, and it's been described by a lot of different people, you're kind of going through this tunnel, and I saw like basically people making love and creating portals, and like you would, the kind of the place where you would decide what your next life is going to be, and you would get a flash and like a summary of what that life looked like, right? The other one was where it just kind of fantastically frightening in a lot of ways, but um, I saw like literally this one vision where like I was almost a caricature, like a cartoon character, and I had died and like God had like this big hook and was like pulling my body up and then like taking it. And I saw a warehouse full of my bodies, like just literally thousands of them. And he basically like took my soul out of my head and put it into another one. Um, and through other methods, I've had kind of the similar stuff where like, oh, I died. You experience it. But yeah, I think it's something definitely not to be afraid of. I think that life is such a precious gift. I think we should appreciate it and um, do whatever we can to extend it and make it as have as much you know quantity of years and as much quality at the same time, um, and live right as long as we can, as healthy as we can, get everything that we want while we're here. But then also when it comes time to take that next step, um, to be able to let go with like peace in your heart, um, to be able to go into the next one fully confident, fully at peace, fully excited for the next journey. Like that was freaking awesome. Thank you for that gift. I'm super excited to see what the next one is or what's after this. Because I do believe that it's not an accident that we're here. That there are very, very intelligent divine forces at work, and I tend to believe that you can't get rid of something that isn't really yours. You can't give something away if it belongs to somebody else. And I think that there are safeguards in place to where if it gets too bad, the angels will come in, pull up the curtains, show you, guide you. So I think, and you can kind of see this with a lot of people that like had near death experiences, family members calling, great light, um, peace, overwhelming peace, joy, and I think that all dogs get to go to heaven. I think that everybody's taken care of. I don't think there's a single thing that you can do that would send you to some hell for eternity. And I hopefully am not wrong, but I think that God, divinity, creator, loves us so much that in the end, you may have to learn your lessons. You may have to repeat some stuff. You may have to take that quiz again. But whether it takes 100 years, whether it's right now, whether it's 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years, we all get to the same point. We all get to be back home with our friends or family, loved ones. We're all source. We're all rays of the sun, and eventually I think we end up getting back there. So some of us decide to take the longer path, some of us make more mistakes, some of us get lost, but I think that at the end of this whole thing, we're all exactly where we're supposed to be, in the heart of what you would call heaven. Um, and I think that, heaven, your head, hell, your heel, there's a lot of parallels, but you encompass the whole thing. And how could there be a place where God is not? How, if God is all powerful, omnipotent, omnipresent, how could there be a spot where he couldn't? And God, if God is perfect, and then even what's imperfect must be perfect. So, what do you think? Thanks for tuning in. Sorry again, it's been so long. I did create a Discord server, so I'll do my best. I gotta find the link and I'll put it in there. I'll put a link to this book as well. Really cool read. But yeah, what do you think? I think this is something that we'll continue to talk about moving forward. It's an important one. So until the next one, I'll talk to you soon.